All right, let's break this down for a moment. While Sean Diddy Combs is sitting behind bars, his family is reportedly entering what could become a full-scale internal war. It isn't just about ego anymore. There are nearly $400 million at stake, and that kind of money tends to bring out the sharpest claws, even within bloodlines. Behind the scenes, sources close to the situation claim tensions began shortly after Diddy's arrest. At first, it seemed like the family was trying to hold things together quietly. But as weeks passed and the reality of his incarceration set in, that silence reportedly turned into strategy. And now, it's evolving into an open challenge for power. The two central figures in this struggle are said to be Janice Combs, Diddy's mother, and Christian Combs, one of his most prominent sons. Those close to the situation describe Christian as determined, ambitious, and ready to step in as the heir to his father's empire. He allegedly believes he is the most natural continuation of Diddy's legacy. Janice, on the other hand, is pushing back firmly. She reportedly insists that her decades of experience and long-standing involvement in her son's business affairs make her the more trustworthy caretaker until Diddy is able to act again. According to recent reports, what started as internal negotiations has now turned into a face-off. One insider allegedly described it as a full-on showdown, pointing out that emotions are high and patience is low. Christian is believed to be rallying siblings to secure their loyalty, while Janice reportedly refuses to step aside and accept that the next generation should lead. Meanwhile, speculation has grown that some family members might already be using financial assets more freely than expected since Diddy's incarceration. A recent publication suggested concern over potential mismanagement, hinting that certain heirs may be living large without clear oversight while their father remains detained. Observers say it's turning into a free-for-all, complicating the legal framework and potentially creating more disputes down the line. What makes the entire situation even more intense is Diddy's uncertain legal future. While his current imprisonment was originally not expected to be long-term, ongoing investigations, particularly those tied to historical allegations, might change that trajectory. If legal complications escalate, he could remain behind bars longer than anticipated, which would likely increase pressure around his business and estate handling. Here's the reality. Diddy's empire has never been just about wealth. It's been about image, legacy, and influence. With him absent, that power is rapidly shifting, and everyone knows it. It's not merely a question of who holds the money. It's about who carries the Combs name forward, who makes the decisions, and who gets to say, they were the one that kept the empire alive while everything else crumbled. And while no public statement has been made from their side, industry watchers suggest that unless some form of internal settlement is reached, things could get even messier. This family dispute has reportedly moved past quiet conversations and into legal preparation. Lawyers have already been hired. Positions are solidifying. The storm isn't coming. Sources say it's already here. Now that the dust has settled on the initial shock of Diddy's arrest and conviction, the real battle is becoming impossible to ignore. Janice and Christian aren't just quietly disagreeing behind closed doors anymore. They're on opposite sides of a growing war over money, control, and legacy. And the more you look at it, the clearer it becomes. This isn't just about who loves him more. This is about who gets to hold the keys to what's left of a collapsing empire. People close to the situation say Diddy's sons have been living large for well over a year, long before he was actually sentenced. Parties, designer fits, luxury travel, constant soft launching of projects that don't really turn into careers, all of that costs money, a lot of it. And with Diddy now locked up, there's a real fear that some of those family members are burning through resources like the tap is never going to turn off. That's exactly where Janice and Christian collide. On one side, you've reportedly got Christian, young, flashy, in a high-profile relationship, with a lifestyle to maintain and a name to live up to. He sees himself as the natural heir, the one who can step into Diddy's shoes and keep the Combs brand alive while his father is behind bars. On the other side, there's Janice, in her 80s, who has been there since the very beginning. In her mind, she's the one who survived the struggle, raised the man who became Diddy, and watched this empire grow from nothing. She believes that if anyone should be trusted to oversee things while he's away, it's her. Insiders describe the conversations between their camps as heated and stubborn. Christian is said to be pushing for more direct control, while Janice is digging her heels in, insisting she deserves stability and security after decades of standing behind her son. Both sides reportedly feel entitled, both sides feel owed, and all of this is happening while Diddy himself sits hundreds of miles away, surrounded by steel, concrete, and razor wire. That brings us to the latest twist, US Weekly's new piece on Diddy's life in prison. According to the coverage, Diddy is now adjusting to his reality at FCY Fort Dix, serving a roughly 50-month sentence after being convicted on transportation for prostitution charges. Reports say he's working in the chapel area, helping with the library and records, and he's enrolled in a drug abuse treatment program that could shave time off his sentence if completed successfully. Other former inmates who have spoken out describe Fort Dix as chaotic and grim, a place where you keep your head down if you want to make it home. So picture the contrast. Outside, you've got family members allegedly arguing over his fortune, spending money like tomorrow is guaranteed. Inside, you've got Diddy in a low-security federal prison, navigating broken systems, strict rules, and volatile personalities, trying to present himself as a man focused on rehabilitation in a second act. And somewhere between those two worlds, the noisy fight over hundreds of millions and the quiet routine of prison life. Decisions are being made. Who signs what? Who controls which accounts? Who speaks for him when he can't just walk into a boardroom and set the tone himself? If this tug of war keeps escalating, it's not hard to imagine lawyers stepping in even deeper, court documents flying, and the Combs family's private business becoming even more public. The money is one thing. The name, the legacy, the story that gets told about Diddy when this is all over, that might be the biggest prize of all. Inside the walls of FCI Fort Dix, life looks nothing like the glamorous empire Sean Diddy Combs once ran. According to former inmates, the facility, while classified as low security, is described by some as mentally exhausting, lacking basic maintenance, and operating in a way that forces even the strongest personalities to adapt or unravel. One former prisoner compared it to an asylum more than a correctional facility, claiming that the combination of malfunctioning utilities, unpredictable aggression, and a lack of meaningful structure can break down even those used to chaos. Reports indicate that showers often remain out of order for long periods of time, food quality is well below standard, and tensions inside the dorm-style housing run high. Sources say Combs is struggling to adjust, particularly in the common areas where conflicts reportedly escalate without notice. Though he has found some sense of calm working within the chapel library section, that limited oasis appears to be the only place he can retreat to without feeling pressure from all sides. CBS recently highlighted claims that the Grammy-winning producer may have breached certain institutional rules. However, legal representatives allegedly clarified that any communications taking place were initiated through attorney-client channels and therefore fall under confidentiality protections. They also stated that despite rumors, no official notice has been given, indicating that he has lost privileges. The simple fact that communication is still possible suggests his status remains intact, at least for now. Despite the ongoing investigation and mounting attention outside the prison walls, Diddy is said to be settling into the daily structure enforced at Fort Dix. Inmates reportedly wake up at 6 a.m. for breakfast, then move to assigned classes or work duties, followed by lunch, scheduled evening meals, and recreational hours before lights out at 11 p.m. According to Tyler King, a former inmate at the facility who later founded a prison reform organization, the schedule is consistent but lacking in purpose. He notes that while there are educational resources and television access, the environment offers limited opportunities for genuine rehabilitation or personal growth. What has drawn additional scrutiny is how disruptive behavior reportedly goes unchecked at times. Some accounts mention that correctional officers occasionally turn a blind eye to violations during late-night hours, with behaviors ranging from aggressive confrontations to what were described as improper acts occurring in communal areas. One former inmate recalled waking up around 3 or 4 a.m. to use the bathroom and encountering situations he never imagined would happen in a federal facility. While details vary, such claims suggest a system stretched thin and struggling to maintain consistent standards. These descriptions must be taken cautiously as they reflect individual accounts and not official statements. Still, they paint a stark contrast between Diddy's former life and his current reality, a shift from private jets and multi-million-dollar deals to metal bunk beds and institutional meals. For someone who built an image around control, dominance, and influence, adapting to an environment with minimal personal agency presents a unique kind of psychological challenge. What's clear is that this phase of his life is shaping a new narrative, one not dominated by headlines or branding, but by survival and adaptation. Whether he manages to withstand this environment and re-emerge with a controlled legacy, or whether internal family disputes and external legal battles overpower him first, remains to be seen. From what's being described about daily life at Fort Dix, it's fair to assume Diddy is using whatever structured routines exist there simply to get through the time. Reports from former inmates paint a picture of extremely limited facilities. One bathroom per floor, broken toilets and showers, and food that, according to some accounts, is sometimes expired or of noticeably low quality. One individual recalled spending just over a day inside before realizing this wasn't what he expected from a federal correctional environment. It didn't feel like a regular prison, he noted. It felt like chaos. Another reportedly agreed, saying at times it resembled a zoo more than anything remotely rehabilitative. And while Fort Dix is classified as low security, meaning less restrictive conditions and a generally calmer inmate population, that doesn't mean it's easy. For someone accustomed to executive decision-making and being surrounded by control, privacy, and influence, the adjustment process can be particularly difficult. Survival in such environments often comes not from status, but from composure, and that's something that remains unclear given current reports. What's raising questions now is the narrative being circulated around Diddy's communication privileges. According to recent media coverage, clarification was provided that a three-way call was initiated through legal channels and therefore did not violate prison policy. His attorneys allegedly stated that they continue to communicate with him daily, which they argue confirms he has not lost any privileges. However, some observers believe the explanation leaves room for doubt, suggesting that the framing of this situation may be more about damage control than transparency. Critics point out that if the call was solely legal in nature, intended for attorney-client discussion, it wouldn't require public clarification. Yet, it was reportedly mentioned as part of a broader effort to prepare a statement for a major publication, which adds a layer of inconsistency. The question being asked now is simple. If that statement was the priority, why hasn't it surfaced? Some suggest that elements of the media coverage appear designed to elicit sympathy, portraying Diddy as struggling emotionally and physically inside the facility, shaping a softer public perception while legal matters continue externally. It's important to note, however, that these are speculative interpretations, not confirmed facts. There is growing frustration from those watching the case unfold who believe that narratives are selectively crafted on all sides, whether by legal teams, family members, or public relations strategists, each attempting to influence how Diddy's current circumstances are portrayed. And with the family already reportedly divided over financial control and legacy, managing external perception may now be just as strategic as every internal decision. What's clear is that emotions and commentary surrounding this situation run high. Some feel the public is being underestimated, that the attempt to manage the story might underestimate people's ability to distinguish between fact and presentation. Skepticism is increasing, especially as new details emerge from inside Fort Dix, while legal complexities intensify on the outside. Ultimately, while parts of the article may be interpreted as encouraging empathy, what remains undeniable is that the conditions being described are far from glamorous, and that very real challenges surround Diddy's current environment. Whether or not attempts are being made to shape public opinion, the balance between legal responsibility, family conflict, and institutional reality is becoming central to how this chapter in his story will be remembered. Let's be straightforward here. Many people aren't responding to the recent attempts to portray Diddy as struggling in prison. And that reaction stems from a growing sense of disconnect between public sentiment and the sympathy-based narratives being circulated. There's a feeling among observers that if the media expects audiences to suddenly shift into compassion mode, it may be misreading the room. For years, the focus has been on the actions that allegedly led to his downfall, not on the conditions he's currently facing as a result. The recent article highlighting his challenging environment at Fort Dix, reportedly framed through limited spaces, malfunctioning facilities, and psychological strain, appears to be part of a broader strategy aimed at tempering criticism. However, critics argue that similar circumstances did not provoke widespread empathy when they affected others in the past. So the question being raised is simple: why now, and why in this way? Much of the disagreement centers around the reported three-way call. It was said to have been initiated through legal channels, supposedly acceptable under confidentiality protection. Later coverage suggested that additional individuals, possibly family members, were present during that conversation, which made some question the accuracy of the explanation. Skeptics believe that the clarification seems overly curated, as if more effort is being invested in shaping the narrative than clarifying the facts. Further commentary mentions allegations circulating among inmates regarding inappropriate conduct within communal areas, particularly during late hours. While such claims are unconfirmed and based on personal testimony, they have contributed to public speculation. Some observers suggest that if those rumors are brought into the open, they will likely intensify scrutiny rather than evoke sympathy, given the controversies tied to Diddy's past lifestyle, which previously included rumors of unconventional gatherings. The issue isn't solely about what may or may not be happening in prison. The deeper conversation revolves around credibility. Multiple observers feel that ongoing public relations attempts are approaching fatigue. They point to previous statements meant to shift perception, including those related to past family losses, that reportedly failed to generate meaningful public support. As it stands, many believe that continued emphasis on emotional framing may risk further disengagement. Public sentiment, according to commentary, has shifted from curiosity to skepticism. While some may acknowledge the hardships of incarceration, others view the current narrative as an attempt to control the optics rather than accept accountability. The more this strategy is pursued, critics say, the more it opens the door for heightened backlash rather than restored confidence. To be clear, none of these allegations are confirmed, and much of the commentary is speculative. Still, it reflects a growing divide between those controlling the narrative and those interpreting it. In the eyes of many, the story being projected isn't resonating because people feel they are being led rather than informed. If the goal is to shape public opinion through sympathy, it may be counterproductive given the current perception climate. In the end, what the general public seems to be waiting for is not sentiment, but resolution, clarity, not emotional persuasion. Until that arrives, efforts to soften the image may face diminishing returns. At this point, many observers believe the conversation around Diddy's prison environment has run its course. The prevailing view is that he is serving his sentence and must face the consequences without continuous attempts to redirect public perception. With everything that's been reported about conditions inside Fort Dix, from damaged facilities and occasional altercations to other behavioral concerns, it's clear that the environment is harsh, but it is also part of the reality he now has to navigate. Insiders claim that he has witnessed confrontations erupt over trivial matters, even reportedly seeing extreme reactions over something as small as food disputes. Federal facilities, particularly those with a diverse inmate population, are not known for emotional stability or restraint. Much depends on how an individual carries themselves. Those who stay inconspicuous, avoid escalating tension, and refrain from acting superior tend to adapt more effectively. For someone accustomed to operating with influence, remaining low profile may prove to be one of the greatest challenges. While some continue to push narratives focusing on discomfort or hardship, suggesting broken bathrooms, volatile interactions, and alleged inappropriate conduct occurring out of sight, critics argue that these stories don't change the underlying reality. Diddy is in prison, and sympathy campaigns are unlikely to reverse public opinion. His public image has undergone significant deterioration, and any attempt to shift the conversation toward pity rather than accountability risks further disconnecting audiences. What seems more pressing now is his legal situation outside the prison walls. Reports indicate that a new criminal investigation in Los Angeles is developing, one that could potentially lead to additional charges or further scrutiny. And rather than focusing on environmental discomfort, many believe attention should be directed toward that case, which may shape the next chapter of this ongoing saga far more significantly than day-to-day prison conditions. Comments from family representatives have continued, with additional interviews being circulated in an effort to clarify his emotional state. However, some viewers express growing fatigue with these statements, feeling that repeated assertions of sympathy do not align with the broader context of the accusations surrounding him. Ultimately, the sentiment among many is straightforward: allow the legal process to continue, allow him to serve his sentence, and let upcoming developments, particularly those emerging from the new investigation, speak for themselves. Attempts to shape public sentiment are becoming less effective, especially in an environment where audiences have access to multiple sources, opinions, and historical context surrounding the case. If Diddy maintains a low profile within the facility and avoids presenting himself as an exception to general inmate conduct, the likelihood of completing his term with minimal conflict increases. But outside the prison, the challenges are far from over. For viewers following this situation, the broader perspective matters. What unfolds next, legally, personally, and publicly, will determine whether this is simply a difficult chapter or the final turning point in his legacy. If you've been keeping up with this series, feel free to share your thoughts below. Subscribe to the channel to stay updated as more developments come in, and give this video a thumbs up if you found the breakdown informative. There's more coming, and this story is far from finished.